to GenInvest. Today, I'm so excited to talk to you about power teams. Now, if you want to be successful in investing, your power team is vitally important. Now, I'm going to be speaking to a good friend of mine, a broker for the last couple of years, who's been, looking at all my mortgages for me and been part of my power team. He's going to talk to you about what it takes to find a good broker, what is a good broker, and the importance of a good mortgage broker. So I'll introduce you to my good friend, Mr. Michael. Okay, Michael, introduce yourself.
I'm Michael McClatchey from One and All Financial Services.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So how long have you been a mortgage broker?
It'll be 11 years now, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. So I started in the industry just around the start of 2007, and we have survived the credit crunch and the Great Recession and come through stronger on the other side.
And how did you, actually, that's a really good point. How did you find that time when it was all manic and mayhem?
Oh, it was difficult. Yeah. I think I was slightly luckier than some other brokers in the area because I hadn't experienced the really high times of 2004 to 2007. So this was a new reality for me. But we managed to get through, and we've come through, as I say, stronger on the other side and better brokers because of it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So the question that we're asking anyone who's a part of a power team, why do you think it's important to have a power team when you're investing?
I think it's vital to have a power team, just to steer you in the right direction, to make sure that you are your course is charted properly, and two, it's maximizing your profitability from the portfolio.
That's a good one.
Anybody can buy a property and it can sit and do very little for you, and even cost you money. Which nobody wants that to happen. So if you have the right people involved from the very start, then you're immediately starting to make money from that portfolio.
I'll tell you what, Michael, you made a really good point, and a lot of people don't never hear about that. There are actually people who own properties who are making no money.
Absolutely.
And actually it's costing them money.
That's it, yeah.
Okay, so if you don't get the right power team, you can end up with a very costly investment.
That's it. Not an investment, but almost a money sink.
Yeah, it's not an investment. Yeah, you're right, 100%. So why is it vital to have a mortgage broker in particular then, a part of the power team? So we know we've got solicitors, builders, and the accountants. Your mortgage broker, okay, why is that vitally important?
It's, well, the paperwork involved now with any advice given on a mortgage is quite significant. The processing, you start off with disclosure documents to disclose how we do our business. We've got fact finding has to be done. And basically, before we can even start discussing the mortgage, we have to go through a significant amount of paperwork. Now, if you want to do that directly with the bank, each and every bank you go into, you have to do that with them.
Oh, wow.
Whereas if you go to a broker, you do one set of paperwork and then you get a recommendation from one of 110 banks that are available to us in the UK and we have access to. So
wow, 110.
110.
I didn't realise that many
exactly.
banks.
There's everybody can name the high street banks, but
Lloyds, TSB.
The people have never maybe heard of Precise Mortgages, Birmingham Midshires, Accord Mortgages, Vita Home Loans. These are all companies that are strong in the marketplace and only have an intermediary presence.
Right. And here's the thing, a term that's bandied around is like you've got whole market mortgage brokers and things like that. What does that mean when you talk about a broker who can go to the whole of market or something like that?
Well, a whole of market broker can approach any bank that is on that list of 110, assuming they have a relationship with them.
Oh, okay.
Once upon a time, networks would have a list of maybe 10 banks or 20 banks that were representative of the whole of market, but weren't actually the whole of the market. They could term themselves as whole of market with that, because if they couldn't get a product with one bank, they would get a similar product with another bank. But that criteria might just be subtly different and mean that you can't qualify for one mortgage with a bank, with that bank, that you would have qualified with another. So.
Oh, okay. And I know a lot of people will say to me, because I'll advise, because I've had that advice, to go to a broker. They'll say, well, why can't I just go to, let's go to my bank, for instance. Why would you say it's important? Like, you may have a relationship with the bank and you've been with them 10 years. So I'm with Santander, but I've never done a mortgage with Santander, even though I bank with them for business and personal. But I've never done a mortgage with them. Why would you say it's important that, yes, you've got your bank, but still talk to a mortgage broker?
Well, I mean, a key point is actually, my title is not so much mortgage broker, but advisor.
Oh, okay.
So it's what we do day in, day out is study criteria that the banks put in place for those mortgages. So there's subtle differences between each and every bank, which means while you could get a mortgage with your bank, say Santander, they may offer you 70,000.
Yeah.
But I could take you to RBS where they'll offer you 90,000. So you're not having to put as much money in or lay out as much as in your investment. So key thing is we're maximizing your return on the money that you're investing into your properties.
I think, you know, one of the key things, the trends that I'm hearing by having a power team is that we're here to maximize the profit you make.
That's it.
A good power team will make you money.
That's it.
So it may feel like you have to pay for something, but actually in the end, it's what you save or you make far exceed everything.
That's it. With any service, especially in the financial world, you may have to pay a fee, but that fee should always save you at least 5 to 10 times what you would have cost you to go direct.
Great equation.
Yep.
I'm gonna make sure I use that now. What my power team is that. Hold on, how much am I paying? 5 times return? That's good. Okay, so how do you find them? Because obviously there's a lot of mortgage brokers out there. Okay, you can find them in a local bank, Google. How would you say that you go about finding a good mortgage broker?
I always find a referral to be the best form of a new client coming to me, because somebody with an advisor like ourselves, we have to go quite deep into your personal finances. So there's an element of trust there that has to be picked up.
3 months of my bank statement.
Exactly. we know the ins and outs of your life essentially. So obviously trust is a big thing. And if you have somebody has already used a broker and says they know and trust that person and like them, then you feel much more confident in being able to be open and forthcoming with that person or with that advisor when you speak to them. So it's always, I find a referral is the best way forward. Google rankings, Google ratings and reviews, they're very emotional when people tend to write them, and you're not reviewing something that you have a lot of experience in. You've maybe used one broker, so you don't know the differences there. It's not like reviewing one beer over another. So a 1-star rating could be just
someone who has no experience in it. I think you mentioned a really good point. We laughed and joked, like literally this morning before this, I handed you my bank statements, and there is all your personal information, like my stuff in my relationships, where I'm living, what I'm doing, which is actually, some of my friends, my closest friends don't know some of the personal information that you know. So one of the key things is how you find a good broker, and you talked about referrals, but what you're looking for from a good broker.
Yep.
You alluded to is someone who you can build a relationship with and be honest with. Would you say that's probably one of the key criteria in finding or ticking off, however you want to describe it, of saying, okay, this mortgage broker is good because of X, Y, and Z? Would you say relationships at the top, or? Relationships
are a big thing, because as I say, one, we're looking at confirming or to satisfying the demands and needs that you have, and as well as that, this is quite a personal thing with investment, so we're trying to achieve your hopes and goals, and that is for everybody a very personal thing. So key thing is the relationship you have with that broker, and knowing that they're a knowledgeable person and will always steer you in the right direction.
Brilliant. And is there any qualifications that I should, or anyone coming in should look at that this person has to have, or anything like that? Is there anything around?
Nowadays, most brokers will be qualified to a certain level. Usually either CMAP qualification or MAQ qualification. So the two major governing bodies that would cover these things. Those are requirements for residential mortgages. And most buy-to-let lenders will require that a broker be at that level essentially before they'll consider doing business with them. It's also useful if they're members of the NACFB, National Association of Commercial Finance Brokers, because there's great levels of information are provided by these resources that keep you on top of your game essentially, because it's all about continuing your professional development to make sure that your knowledge is always top notch.
And that's always important. That person developing himself, knowing the latest things.
That's it.
Okay. Now, obviously, you're based in Manchester.
Yep.
I'm based in the Midlands, and we've been working together for years. I don't know how many years now, but it's been a long time. Is it important? One of the questions that we asked the accountant: is it important to have a broker that's in your area? Is that important, or?
Once upon a time, it would have been,
Yeah.
but with the advent of so many communications options nowadays, 99% of my customers are probably 40 or 50 miles away at least. Telephone, email, video conferencing, mobile communications. It's made life so much easier for so many people that it can be dealt with on your lunchtime break. You don't need to run down to an office and sign anything anymore. You can pick up the phone and it's dealt with.
I haven't seen you for a long time.
That was probably 2011. I
think
was the last time.
A long time, but we speak all the time.
Exactly.
That's it. So fundamentally, does it make a difference?
No.
It's the key thing is, can you build that relationship? So there's a lot of changes going on in the market, especially in probably the last 12 months.
Indeed.
And I've seen the importance of having a power team to be able to advise me on certain things. What key things are happening in the market from a mortgage lending or anything like that would you say people need to be aware of? So anyone watching this video that they need to be clued up on?
But two big things that have come up recently are the recent changes to interest relief. Or mortgage interest relief, whereby you're no longer able to take into account your mortgage payment, take that off your profitability for your property before you pay tax. So that's being phased in over a 4-year period. And I saw some figures recently that suggest that probably 40 to 50% of landlords in the marketplace are not aware of this. And it's going to cost them a significant amount of money in the next couple of years. The other big thing that's come in very recently is you're no longer allowed to let a property without an energy performance certificate in place, and it has to be above a certain level, otherwise the tenancy is null and void. So if it is below a certain level, it's a requirement now that you install insulation or ensure that the energy, exactly, that the property is up to a minimum standard before it's worth letting out.
And I think the great thing is, like, I don't have the time because of my lifestyle to know all these things. I don't. But every time I talk to you, you'll say to me, Denzel, did you know about that? I always sound so ignorant. So I'm like, Mike, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. And that's the great thing is, a quick call to yourself, even if you're not working on a mortgage. Sometimes we've spoken just about potential deals and, we haven't actually done any physical business. But you'll say to me, you need to be aware of this or you need to be aware of that.
That's it. That's the advice that we provide. We are there to advise and make sure our clients are up to date and they're not falling into any pitfalls, which are going to cost them money in the future.
Right. And that actually leads me to a good question. You've seen a lot of investors. What has been one of the pitfalls that you see some investors making at the moment? Is there anything that you think, man, I tell you, that's one they should stay away from, or something they shouldn't be doing? Is there anything that
I know in the initial stages when people start investing in property, they invest with their heart rather than their head.
Right, okay.
They're going out to see properties directly. I like this one. I can see myself living here. But you're not going to be the one who rents it. So always invest with your head rather than your heart. I've investors who bought 20 or 30 properties and they haven't stepped foot in 29 of them. They've never seen anything. They just look at the figures, they look at the surrounding area and they say, this is a good deal and this is not.
The numbers don't lie, do they?
It's if you're investing money into a savings account or something like that, you don't go, I like the look of this one. I look at the figures and say, this one gives me the best return, and that's it.
That's it. The numbers stack up.
That's it.
It's a good deal. Okay, so here's a question I didn't ask some of our interviews, but I do want to ask you: is it important for your mortgage broker to also be an investor? Because I know you invest. But is that important if you find a mortgage broker? Obviously, I'll be recommending yourself because I know you, so that gives me confidence to say to other investors, you should work with my guy. I make no money from that, so I'll just put that out there. But it gives me credibility for anyone who's in there. But is it important, do you think, for people in your power team, especially like your accountant or your mortgage broker and people like that, to be investors, or it doesn't really matter?
I think it is important because one, it shows you have confidence in the product that you're recommending. So you feel that there's profit to be made in the property market. And two, not all advisors cover the same areas. You know, buy-to-let is quite a specialist area of mortgage advice. There's hundreds of mortgage advisors out there that will only look at residential property. There's hundreds will only look at a remortgage. They won't even consider a purchase.
Wow.
But buy-to-let is a very specific area with very specific criteria, and it's always important that your advisor knows exactly what they're advising on.
Excellent.
You know,
Excellent,
so
excellent.
if they're an investor themselves,
Yeah.
they will have taken the time to look into all those areas.
All those criteria.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, so final question. Someone's new to investing, and they're looking at this. They may have saw this video, or they've been contemplating. They're saying, "Oh, I really want to invest." What's that one bit of advice that you give them and say, you know, if there's one thing I want you to remember, one thing I want you to do before you start your property investing, I want you to do this.
Certainly, in the initial stages, until they've gained their own experience, surround yourself with knowledgeable people who will steer you in the right direction, and that is the way to make a profit with property.
Love that. Michael, thank you for your time. I know you're
No
a busy
problem.
man. Okay, so listen, there are some nuggets and some gems in there. I'm constantly learning, and the way that I learn is from my power team, the likes of Michael. Obviously, he's been my broker. He's working on some things for me now. As I said, I'll be giving him paperwork. He's working on 2 things for us now. So the reason I say that is to give you confidence of who I'm using. Now, if you also want to use one of our power team members and want to use Michael for mortgages, his details will be below, but also obviously let us know, email us or direct message us via social media, and we'll give you his details. Once again, we make no money from these referrals, it's nothing like that. We just want to make sure that you have the right power team so you can be successful and actually get out there, start investing and making some money. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you soon.